Welcome to Between Two Pastries, a not so typical nutrition podcast. Nicole and Annie are licensed and registered dietitians. Join them as they discuss hot nutrition topics, challenge popular beliefs, and have a blast doing it. Here are your hosts, Nicole and Annie.
Welcome to Between Two Pastries. This is Nicole.
Hey everyone, it's Annie.
Today we have a grouping here of two topics that are different but similar. So we thought let's just kind of throw them all into one bag here. And a topic that keeps coming up, for me at least, with clients, Annie, I don't know how much you see this in the work that you do, but it's around the whole false idea that a smaller body is a better athlete.
Oh yeah, I mean that's constant. Whether it's a cross country runner or a soccer player or in high school, college, adults, everything is smaller to the point where I disappear as a human is the best.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
It's weird. It's so weird. Like people
so
want to
weird.
get themselves to be so small that like it feels like they just want to evaporate. And
right. Well,
I mean,
it's
really,
yeah, no, but it's so true. And the other piece is this constant body comparing without any, it's like people forget about genetics. But not only that, it's like the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So
well, and
it's
let's
yeah.
just hold right there. People don't give a fuck about genetics anymore. I
No,
think so
seriously.
many people think that that's bullshit. So let's pretend like we're not going to consider that. And
Yeah.
let's just stop saying that.
Right.
So now we're just going to say, like you said, people think the grass is always greener. And that I think is now becoming kind of the gold standard that I can overcome. I'm more disciplined.
Yeah.
I can get through this. And not realizing this, all or nothing black and white thinking that's going on, that if I can be this weight or this size or this toned or this body fat, then I'll be, I don't know, better, best, thin, tone, whatever adjective they think they're
Right.
going to.
Whatever they're looking for.
Right. And then again, like you said, the grass is always greener. Well, let's look at a different weight. Now I want to do this. And people don't realize like they're okay and that there's reasons why they are the way they are. And it's not just how you eat, right? Like there's a whole psychological component to all of this stuff.
Completely.
That it's getting more and more frustrating to try to explain physiology to people. Again, I still think everyone's getting dumber with this stuff and clouded. Their
I think
brain is clouded with so much misinformation.
Like it's constant for people.
Oh yeah.
It's absolute constant. And even if they are level-headed, the more that they start seeing things, I swear it changes everything. It changes the brain. It changes then their focus. It's like they move away from being level-headed and get more into the diet culture bananas and the BS all over Facebook and
guess where that comes from?
Ads.
Where's the irony of all of that is typically that's genetic predisposition. Like that we take on, right? Like that gene all of a sudden clicks, right?
Oh, sure.
It's just it's so funny to me that there's addiction in my family, but I'm not an addict. Well, what do you mean? Well, yes. Everyone drinks alcohol, but and you run
a million miles and eat a carrot. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I'm pretty sure those are the same things. It's just a different side. It's the same behavior. So, and I just say that because there are people who just are really sick of hearing about genetics being something that can affect them and that I can quote unquote beat my genetics.
Yeah.
Your genetics always come through.
Right. And they do always come through. And the other piece back to your addiction comment is what I'm noticing, and again, this is not new, but sometimes I just see it a little bit more in certain individuals. And I don't know if anybody else can kind of relate to this or if they've ever thought of it this way. We can get addicted to responding in a particular way and being in a particular way. So when I don't know how to give an example of what I mean by that other than I'll try. Okay, I'll use myself as an
Mhm.
example, right? So I think of like my old self. There's still part of that that's still there for me, but kind of like go, 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 constantly being just like not slowing down enough, right?
Mhm.
When I went through my own work, I guess you could say, slowing down was like death, right? It was like there was something so awful. And it was like, no, I
Mhm.
can't do this. Like I don't even know what it meant to me other than, I mean, it had a lot to do with my personal trauma, honestly, and that if you stay in motion, you don't get hurt, kind of a
Right.
thing.
You
So
know,
that
don't
was
you
that
think?
piece for me, sure. But what I'm saying is that there can be an addiction to, I have to keep going in this particular way because
Mhm.
it's what I know.
Right.
Because it's what I know. So even people who experience a lot of anxiety, right? And like they have to worry about all the things, right? It's kind of like that's part of the anxiety. But what if we try to pull that back a little bit? People get scared.
Oh yeah, when
They get
you
scared if
yes,
they're not worrying about everything because they're then
right,
worried about what's going to happen because they're not worried about everything. Do you
right.
know what I mean?
Well, and I've
Yeah.
worked with enough people where they can identify their reaction to X is to become defensive. Yep,
Hmm.
I'm defensive. All right, so how are we going to change this maladaptive
Yeah,
skill that
exactly.
we have?
Right.
Well, I could try this, right? There's an unwillingness to
Hmm.
actually change the behavior around the action. Or
Hmm.
to, and that's what I tend to see quite often. And I think you probably meet with people a lot more consistently or put them on a more consistent schedule to be able to really get them to see like this is your behavior around food.
Right.
So when you're, for example, when your husband wants to go out to dinner, you're immediately upset because of, are there salads, or is there this, is there this,
Hmm.
instead of just saying, cool, let's go.
Yeah.
That's too uncomfortable, right? And that's a simple behavior that we like the behavior trap that we can fall into of like
Hmm.
having these same reactions. And if we start to change these very small stupid reactions, we start to change how we view ourselves, food, body, weight, all
Correct.
those things.
Well, and to your point with what we were talking about, this body comparison thing, that I feel like I don't want to completely call it an addiction, but again, it's still a constant response. And the question then lies is what's so wrong with you? Why do you have to look like everybody else? Why can't you just work with where you're at? But again, if someone sits in that, it's really uncomfortable. And like there's something there. So either there's a belief there that someone once told them that they're just not okay, that they're
Mhm.
just not enough on some level, that they're not good enough on some level, that who they are and their shape, whether those words were actually used or not, means something's not right.
Right.
So people then strive to be something other than they are. It could go as far as that, right? We don't
Oh,
know.
if you're not fully aware of what's happening,
Yes.
absolutely. And
Yes.
I'll use myself as an example in my current situation with, being pregnant. I didn't think it was a thing to compare your like someone's past pregnant self to a current pregnant person, or to comment to the degree that people comment on how you look
Hmm.
and how big or small you are, or growing or not growing, or this or that. And it's like, I didn't ask for this.
Sure.
I didn't ask for any single one of you to be looking at me in this weird perverted way
Right.
of, you look good, you don't look good, this is great, this is,
I know.
like
Yeah.
working with
Hmm.
eating disorder patients, they hate it too. They can't stand when people say you look good, you look healthy. It's
Absolutely.
really we need to stop comparing, because although you might have nice things to say about someone, it can take someone who might not be in the best headspace
Yep.
to a really bad place where now they
Yes.
start to body compare even more.
Yes.
For me, as someone who is this far along in pregnancy, I just say thank you and move on. But it's at first it was like, how am I supposed to receive this information? Why do people care so much
Yeah.
about what I look like
Yes.
in this stage of life?
Yeah,
Something
it's so
I can't
interesting.
even help. Now you think about, how people compare to each other and menopause or, whatever, when we have those different decade changes that, specifically men go through, or puberty, things like that. And we're making these comments, like, imagine how people
Right,
receive it.
right,
Most people don't like comments, period,
right.
about themselves.
No,
So stop.
right.
And I don't understand why the immediate thought is, someone commented, I need to be smaller. Even if it's someone who is really fragile and someone says, you're looking healthy, you look like you put on weight from an eating disorder standpoint, I need to shrink again. And I think that whether we want to shrink or be toned or smaller within our sport or body, with or without sport, the concept is, I want to shrink because I want people to stop noticing me. I want people to stop talking about me.
There's a lot of that.
There's,
Yeah.
it's a more of a mental shrinkage
Yeah.
that we want to happen. I shouldn't say we.
Well, and to be honest, that can go the other way too. So,
Correct.
people that deal with binge eating disorder, or an eating disorder in general, where they're eating a lot, when their body changes so much that there is no shape,
Correct.
there is something very safe to that individual with that, because they don't want the attention in a different kind of a way.
For as much as everyone is the way, as as how social media projects it and how people project themselves on social
Yeah.
media, you'd think everyone wanted to be the center of attention.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, when it comes to comments, body, weight, even how you do things, whether it be how you raise kids, how you work, how you operate, whatever it may be, people don't want to be in the limelight. People don't
No.
want to be the center of attention.
No.
And I do think social media, and we've talked about this, of course, does play a role in that, where everyone thinks everyone does want to be in the limelight.
Right.
And
Right.
if we don't, we got to stop putting ourselves out there, like we got to stop with all of that. Just a little 2 cents on that side. But I do really think that people wanting to be smaller is directly related to what they're seeing in media, and what other people are projecting themselves to be, whether it be true or not.
Yes.
And we getting really caught up in the comparisons of, because, everyone praises this person. If I become this person, therefore,
correct. I will. But again, that's where it comes down to what is it that you need that you're not getting?
Correct.
And why do you think you need to manipulate your body in order to receive something that you need? And not only that, but those kind of comments are just willy-nilly. There's nothing really solid and foundational about any of that. So why would somebody want to hurt themselves to the degree to receive a willy-nilly comment?
Right.
Because they're going to reach that and they're going to go, oh, that feels good, but it didn't feel as good as I thought it would. Right. So what are you going to do now?
And then you keep searching for that feel good, and we continue to shrink and shrink and shrink.
Oh my gosh. I
And
know.
I will say, certainly eating disorders we were talking about this earlier, eating disorders are a different animal than disordered eating. Majority of the population is going to have
disordered eating. Yes,
100%.
for sure.
Like we've talked about, most people will sit and hear me say that and go, that's not me. Yes, it is. So with that being said, when we have disordered eating, there is a little bit different of a weight cycle that can occur, where sometimes we don't always achieve goals. We don't always, things are hard, weird or harder. We're missing that, it's a different type of mental component, right? So when we start to compare, or we start to be compared, and we are unable to shrink ourselves, even though we're trying all of these different things, it causes us to go down a road of, where we just start to reach for anything.
Right.
This
That's
is
exactly
where we end
right.
up with this diet, that diet.
Well, and that's why, these people doing these weird things all over Facebook, I mean, they're making a ton of money because those are the people that they're targeting.
Right. And although maybe a lot of listeners don't engage in those types of things, and you could argue, well, see, I don't do those things, therefore I don't have disordered eating. Again, yes, you do. because you're
Words and
engaging.
images are
Yes,
powerful.
words and images are powerful, and you're also doing other things. Well, I drink soy milk because it has 60 calories instead of 100.
Sure.
Or I get the fat-free version of this versus the full fat version. Or right, like there's little things that we, and again, these are signs that we look for. Well, it's because I really like the taste of it. Again, these are excuses that people come up with to validate their beliefs around food. Although, again, most of the beliefs are disordered. So it's very challenging because people start to believe the things, or I need to work out 3 hours in order to lose X amount and then not eat anything, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Whatever game you want to play.
Positively. Yeah.
This is how it works with, being in a position to try to shrink yourself and validating and justifying all the reasons why you're okay to do this. So it's a different animal, like we talked about. People with disordered eating is very, very challenging because the beliefs are so normalized that, well, yeah, I don't have a problem because I'm not doing this way over here. That's crazy. That's mental health. That's an eating disorder. I'm doing this over here, which is only a millimeter of a step less than what that population is doing. It's just more accepted. It's normalized. And that's the problem.
Right.
That ultimately, I think, is the ultimate problem, paralleling this concept of we need to keep shrinking ourselves.
Right.
And that in order to be an athlete or in order to be successful, I need to be small. Coming full circle to the whole point of the
No, it's just so true. The other piece of this that I just want to bring out, again, we were kind of talking about, this whole genetic thing too. There's a lot to sort of say about that, but I don't know why people think they can completely have a different shape.
Oh, but they do.
Like your shape is your shape. Your shape might get smaller, maybe, but you're still going to have this particular shape, and it's that particular shape that you're actually poo-pooing.
Right. God, I remember working with a guy, or he wanted to work with me, and this was years and years ago. He was a cyclist and couldn't cycle anymore for whatever reason. I don't remember. Again, this was honestly like 10 years ago. Thin, tall. I hate to use the word scrawny, but kind of that, cyclist
that look.
body
I know.
shape, right?
Yep.
Well, I want to bulk up.
You don't have the muscle fiber.
I'm like, well, okay, well, let's take a stab at it, but it's probably not going to work. It never worked for him.
No, real hard.
But then you look at, unfortunately, people are going to say to me, well, that's just that one guy, because look at Ryan Hall, who was a world-class 115-pound runner.
Yeah.
Who then bulked up. Guess what?
Yeah.
The 115 pounds was an eating disorder.
Yes, that
Guess
was.
What? That's what that was. That is not his actual shape. That's
such a good point. Oh my gosh, is that such a good point?
Yes. It was very easy for him to bulk up and be who he needed to be.
Because that was his genetic disposition.
Correct. It was hiding under a very, very sick individual.
That's such a great point. Yeah, it's such a
So
great point.
Well, and that in mind.
That is the other piece too. It's like, I will often challenge my clients when they're like, I want to have this body, or I looked at this person that I was racing with or whatever. And it's like, how do you know? People make up these stories around these people. They don't even know.
They don't know.
Like, oh, they probably have the best life and they have all the things and they feel amazing about themselves and they have all this confidence and blah, 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 and they're so healthy. How do you know that?
Yeah. They're not.
How do you honestly know that?
Right.
You don't know that. You don't know that this person is probably struggling with an eating disorder, whether they're aware of it or not,
Right.
You don't know that this person doesn't sleep at night because of blah, 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 right? You don't know. Like, people have to be really, really careful when they're like, I want to be healthy like her. No, what does that even mean?
I can't stand that when people say, I just want to look like so, and I get it all the time.
Yeah.
Of like different pro athletes. And it's just like, All right, I have a referral for you. Like,
So here's the thing.
I'm gonna pass you on.
Um, you know, someone made a comment about one of the last pods that we did too, and you know, unfortunately, what how they heard it was not the intention of how we had wanted it expressed.
Mhm.
And you know, we were kind of talking about again working with your body, honoring your body, you know, and this individual had heard more we were promoting settling, and it's like, no, 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 no. See, that's not it at all.
Mm-mm.
What we're talking about is working with your body. So again, when someone wants to change something about their body, right, whatever that might be, you
Mhm.
still need to work with your body.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
you cannot bully your body into something it is not. This is what I am trying to say.
Well, you can, but it won't last.
No, it'll last a week. I mean,
Yeah.
and you could end up with long-term damage
Right.
in other areas that people never want to talk about. So, I mean, that's my whole point around this is that people are willing to hurt themselves so badly to be
Mhm.
something other than they are.
Yes, and that's more important.
And the amount of anxiety, the amount of energy, the amount of honestly unhappiness that people seem to experience in their feet for massive control over intake, over exercise, over changing again the physical composition of what they are is it's staggering.
Yeah, it's sad. People would rather be smaller or accepted or at a certain weight than actually healthy.
But at such a
And it's a big cost.
sacrifice of mental health and real health, such a
Correct.
sacrifice of real health. You know, and I think that to your point, you were kind of alluding to this earlier, but I'll kind of bring that back a little bit of this whole idea of like what people see as healthy is really sick.
It's super sick. Yeah.
No, like, no,
Yeah.
how you're defining health is actually, it's sick.
Correct.
That's not
Yeah.
actually healthy.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The beliefs are not
Yeah, it's
healthy at
just it's
all.
so twisted. It's so twisted, and you know, this time of year can also bring a lot of that
Oh,
out. There are a
God.
couple times a year that this comes out a lot more, and for some reason I've just been seeing some real heavy hitters around these topics and stuff. And it's as a practitioner, it's very difficult to see somebody who is just so unhappy,
Oh, yeah.
but they're not willing to really look at where that real unhappiness is.
But that unhappiness is normal
I
until
know.
someone starts to regularly say, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's
And
so
until
true.
they have that realization, unhappiness, beliefs, dissatisfaction with self, it's just normalized. It's just, that's who they think they are. That's what that's how they see themselves as happy. And it's like, boy, there's a lot more happiness you can experience.
Yeah,
But if this
yeah.
is all you're willing to do, well, then enjoy your life, because
Hmm.
some people are unwilling to move beyond that sadness that they're experiencing.
Hmm.
And we both have worked with people in that position of just very much so accepting, I have this goal of whatever weight, size, type of eating pattern, and I don't care how unhappy I am in order to do it.
Yeah, precisely.
And that's not an eating disorder.
And because people have choice,
Yeah,
if
right.
that's really where they honestly want to live with themselves,
Hmm.
but it would just be sad that if they couldn't be that honest with themselves to be like, I'm really
Yeah.
miserable.
Actually, this is miserable, but I'm
Like,
too scared to walk away. So
right.
help me slowly get to a better
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
That would be the right answer.
What do we leave people with?
Look in the mirror, write down your food beliefs. Again, I know that sounds really stupid. What goes through your head around meal times, snack times, work, parties, whatever? What's in your head? Write that stuff down and really start to think like, oh shit, I have some really awful beliefs. Look
Exactly.
inward. Stop
Well,
looking externally.
Stop looking externally. Exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And get off Facebook and all of those things. You know,
Oh,
stop
gosh.
relying on that as entertainment. Read a book.
Mhm.
I know a book.
Well, we talk about that in our book, Fueling on
Yeah.
Purpose. We have a whole belief inventory kind of a section there for sure.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's kind of a gloomy day, so I guess it's kind of a rant podcast for our gloomy day. They should know this is really a tough topic.
Well, it's a tough
We deal with
topic.
it daily.
Well, and I think that that's ultimately what I'm also getting at too. You know, you're talking about looking at your beliefs. I'm talking about, is this really a place you really want to be?
Right. You're talking more life,
You know?
emotions, those types of things.
Yeah.
100%.
You know, give yourself option. Is this really, is this one of the options you
Right.
really want to have, right? Or, to your point too, when you're looking at beliefs, is that really a belief you want to hold? You know,
Well, and
what?
as everyone's getting more and more unhappy,
Mhm.
we start to, again, it's that age-old saying of like, you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
as everyone around, and everyone is getting more and more unhappy, that we start to interpret unhappiness as happy. And we got to
as
remember
normal.
is
Mhm.
normal. And we got to remember there's way, way, way higher levels of happiness that can be achieved. Not to
Mhm.
reiterate that, of course.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure, for sure, for sure. And I think though, like if something, is this something or is your choice bringing you peace?
Right.
Is it bringing you calm?
Or are you still anxious?
Or are you still
Can you
anxious?
still not
Yeah.
sit still?
I
Can
mean,
you
yeah.
still worry about what you're eating and weight and how something's going to affect you and reacting to it?
All right. Well, as always, take care, everybody.
Have questions you want to hear discussed on the show? Find us on Facebook or visit between2pastries.com and drop us a line. Want to support the show? Find us on Patreon for exclusive content. If you love the show, find us on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform. Hit the subscribe button and leave us a review.